Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Creating Consciousness podcast. I'm your host, Lexi. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about how to start trusting yourself and deepening your connection to your intuition again. So, for those of you that may have an idea of what I'm talking about, welcome. Thank you for choosing to be here. Thank yourself for taking the time out of your busy day to come and spend a little bit of time with me as we talk about some interesting topics. For those of you that might have no idea what I'm talking about, stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of information in this episode as well. I hope you enjoy. And with that, let's get into it. Okay, everybody, we are going to get into our breathwork practice. So find a comfortable space. Again, only if it's safe to do so. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. In and out. Last one. All right, everybody. So as we talk about the topic of intuition, we also have to talk about trust. So that's where we're going to start today. So trust seems like a pretty self-explanatory term. We all understand what trust is. What does that mean, though, when we point the lens on ourselves? What does trust in yourself mean? I think there's a much bigger conversation that we can have about this, but just bare bones to have a conversation about your intuition and starting to listen to yourself again. The ultimate piece of that is trusting yourself. My wonderful mentor, Victoria, talks about how there is a moment in time when we're young where we realize that those that are the closest to us, those figures in our lives, those parental figures, school figures, society figures, the figures in our lives that we are supposed to trust with our, dying breath, we come to find out that we've actually been lied to about a lot of things. Like her example is, they lied to us about Santa Claus. And then, after that, it feels like, well, how am I supposed to trust anything that anybody says now? Especially about something so magical like Santa or the Easter Bunny or, any of the quote unquote fictitious, uh, fictitious figureheads from our childhood. So in that respect, there's a pivotal moment in our young childhood, developing years that we come to find out, well, I can't trust anybody else. So I'm going to trust myself. Along the way, it very quickly becomes, I don't really trust anybody and I don't know if I trust myself. There's a lot of situations, for me in particular, I'm really speaking now about my own experience, but there were times where growing up, to fit into a societal narrative, to fit into the norm, to, like we talked about yesterday, shrink myself, make myself less obnoxious, less annoying, less loud, more likable. You have to tell yourself these untruths of, you're too much. You're too loud. You're too this. You're too much of something. And in order to fit in and for people to like you, you have to dull your shine. So through this repeated process of lying to ourselves, very quickly becomes, well, no, I can't trust myself because I've been lying to myself for my entire life or, however that happens for you. So one of the things that we, start to notice as we're growing, older is typically, well, what are these lies and what's this issue with trust? So losing this trust with ourselves really is the pivotal moment where a lot of us come back to, well, why am I lying to myself about this situation? So, as the example that we've been talking about, why am I continuing to perpetuate this lie and remain untrustworthy with myself that I can't be loved if I don't, if I'm not being small, if I'm not playing small, if I'm not in a box that other people want me to be in? Why is it that I feel that way? And there's some of us that maybe have yet to come to that realization. A lot of us I know from talking with other individuals that are on similar paths as me, you start to question these things and then you start to see kind of the bigger picture of it all. It's all interconnected. Someday I'm sure that we'll probably have multiple podcast conversations about all of the other things that are connected, like the way that society purposely puts us in these situations so that none of us realize how truly powerful and magnificent we all are. But that's a podcast for another day, because as I tell my co-hosts on the Agitators podcast, we will start to spiral and we will be here for hours. So with that, I guess the next big piece of this is how does a trust translate to intuition? So intuition, what's the best guess estimate of what that is? Because I think a lot of us have an idea, we have an inkling, especially now it's being more talked about and discussed. It's brought to light a little bit more in the mainstream media. But I think the biggest thing, the easiest way that we can talk about intuition, it's actually going back to something that my dad used to tell me when I was little. So he used to teach my brother and I that everybody has a conscience. And there's, if you've ever seen the old school Pinocchio from, Disney, the animated version, Jiminy Cricket, right? He's supposed to represent the conscience. So that conscience typically is our intuition. A way to think of the intuition is it's the little voice in our head or heart that tells us, hey, maybe turn left instead of right today. Hey, maybe go down this road instead of going this other way. Hey, maybe you should stop to help those people instead of continuing to drive. We'll get into a story a little bit later about that for a situation that happened with me today. But your intuition is kind of the guiding principle. It's the guiding light within each of us. A lot of individuals believe that your intuition is nudges from your soul to do things that are truly going to set your heart on fire. The idea that each of us comes to this planet to learn something. For me, I truly believe that each of us incarnate within this sphere, within whichever lifetime that you are. So for those of us that chose to be here right now, a lot of it has to do with the current climate and what's going on. Again, we'll get into that at some other point. We'll go down a whole rabbit hole here. But for me, I truly believe that every time that we choose to incarnate in a particular reality, it's because we're meant to learn something specific. And for a lot of us, when we choose to incarnate on the earth plane, it's because we're meant to learn how to move through emotions. We're meant to learn how to come back to ourselves, to come back to our pure essence within a society that tries its damnedest to keep us from doing that. It's a proving ground. Earth is a proving ground for our souls to be able to come here and work with energy in a way that changes people's lives, changes our own life. Again, I won't get too much into this, but if you guys are interested, please let me know. It's obviously a topic that I hold very near and dear. So maybe in future, if we're so guided, we'll have a discussion about that too. But Our intuition really is the piece of ourselves that tells us, "Hey, you should do X, Y, and Z." And the big piece is that a lot of us hear this. We hear this voice in our heads, but a lot of us, most of us, the way that society teaches us anyway, is that you're insane if you say that you have a little voice in your head that's telling you what to do. You're insane if you follow that little voice because you're supposed to do it the way that we tell you. There's a huge stigma around trusting yourself. And again, that's back to trust. That's where it ties in. But trusting yourself enough to listen to what your soul is telling you. There's a reason why we all get shut off from our intuition. So, part of the work that I've been doing and that I know a lot of other people do when you're on this journey is remembering how to listen, to stop and listen and truly honor what your intuition is telling you. Part of intuition as well that goes hand in hand with that is discernment. So recognizing and learning what it feels like, what it sounds like, maybe what it smells like or tastes like, or what you see. But for most of us, it's what it feels like when it's a nudge from your intuition. So for me personally, I know when it's my intuition guiding me when I feel it very heavy in my heart. Very, very, very intense emotions within my heart, within my chest. And usually that radiates out into electrical tingles or pulses into my arms, the back of my neck. And usually, if it's a very strong nudge, if it's a very strong urge, my whole body gets lit up. I feel the entire thing. So I think in the very first episode, we had talked about how my initial leaving corporate was spurred on by this intense feeling within my chest. And that was really kind of the floodgates opening, so to speak, into my intuition really coming online. So for me, that's how it feels. For other people, it may feel different. For other people, maybe they hear a particular thing, they hear a particular phrase, they feel something different, whatever it is. It's different for all of us, but it's up to us to figure out what that feels like. So in moments where maybe you might feel like you received an intuitive thought and then your egoic mind goes into, well, no, that can't be it. That's just you wanting to be self-serving, or that's just you wanting to, look good for other people, or whatever it is. The feeling that you get that is your intuition, that's what you go with. Because I'm not going to lie, there are some times where maybe your ego mind thinks to itself, oh, I should do X, Y, and Z. And if you're not getting the feeling of your intuition that that you get when you feel this, maybe you're right. There's a huge piece of discernment that really, we need to discuss and talk about. But I think the biggest thing here for this topic and what really wanted to come through today was that if it feels right to you and it feels right to your soul, go with it and do it. If you feel like you're getting pressure, other people are telling you to do something and it doesn't feel right, go with that. Because if it doesn't feel right, it's not a yes. If it doesn't feel like a yes, it's a no. That's kind of the biggest piece that wants to come through on that. So there's something that happened today for me that I felt was extremely important to share in this conversation. I think I've talked about it in other podcasts, but usually when I get ready to talk with you all about a topic, Usually 5 minutes before the session, I have no idea what I'm gonna talk about. I, don't sit here and plan out, "Okay, on Friday, I'm gonna talk about this, and Saturday, I'm gonna talk about this." I literally have no idea what I'm gonna talk about usually until I sit down and about 5 minutes before I hit record. So, today what decided to come through was this piece on intuition, and it actually, of no coincidence, because there are no coincidences in this universe, but of no coincidence, it also happens that I had a very powerful, intense experience today. It's actually the reason why this podcast is going up a little bit later today. Normally, I like to film during the day. It is, I'm sure, probably almost 9 o'clock at night now. It's 9:01. Look at that. And so this situation that happened to me today. So I went to go fill up my car. I dropped off Erin at her job. She had to be downtown for an event. So I dropped her off, and on my way back, I was filling up the car at Costco. Fill up the car, and the total is 35.35. For those of us that know about angel numbers, look that one up. So it's 35.35, and I go to leave the area. I'm going back home. I figure, okay, I'm going to get back home and I'm going to have enough time. I can film my podcast. It can go up, and then I can, go back and pick up Erin here in a little bit. Great. Works out perfectly. As I'm going to leave this shopping area, the shopping center the Costco's in, I go to turn and I see that there's a couple on a street corner, and they have a dog. And everyone that knows me knows that I love animals, especially dogs. I'm a big dog person. And this couple has a huge cardboard sign. It says, "Please help us." And I turn, and I didn't stop to help them at first. But I turn and I'm sitting there waiting for the red light. And I can feel this really intense pull. I feel this intensity within my heart that radiates out into the back of my neck, radiates up into my head, goes on down through my shoulders, my arms, my fingers, and then soon my whole body is buzzing. And I can feel my intuition telling me, you need to turn around. You need to turn around and you need to go see what they need. How can you help? So I go through the light, I turn around, I go back, park the car, I get out. And as I'm walking across to the couple that's standing on the corner, I'm waiting to cross, and there is a Model S Tesla that drives right in front of me. I was just telling my best friend Mia that spirit has a way of speaking to me through different signs. Some people it's, hearts, it's rainbows, it's stars, it's feathers. For me, they like to communicate with me through my dream car, which is a Tesla Model S. So I'm standing at the corner, I'm getting ready to cross the street, and what do you know? Here's this Model S Tesla that rolls right up in front of me. And I was like, okay, cool. I see you. I was already going, but cool. Thanks for the confirmation. So I cross the street and I start talking to them, and, I come to find their story, and, I tell them, hey, listen, unfortunately, I don't have much either, but I would like to help you out. How can I help you? Do you need food? Do you need water? What can I do to help you? And so they, tell me that really all they need is just somewhere to take a shower. They had just recently gotten jobs. They just really need a place to stay. But really, just moreover than that, they just really would like a shower. And, I told them, absolutely, I'll see what I can do. So I go find an ATM. I'm able to get some money for them. I come back and I give it to them, and they're so extremely grateful. And they tell me that they have been standing there for almost the entire day. And I'm the only person that got out to talk to them. The only person that got out to talk to them. In that moment, I could feel the despair. I could feel the heartbreak. I could feel their shame in having to ask other people for something. And, while this man and, his partner are standing there, and, she's got their dog, and he's, standing talking to me, and they're very, very upset, very distraught, understandably so. I tell him, like, please take care of yourselves. Please let me know if you need anything else. I give him my business card with my phone number, and I say, hey, let me know if you guys need anything. And then they go on their way. I go on mine. And in that moment, I really truly felt that the reason why I turned the way that I did, the reason why I left the shopping center the way that I did, was so that I could cross paths with this couple, who were absolutely beautiful souls, by the way. They were incredible. And their little dog, he was so cute. But in that moment, I had the most intense feeling from my intuition telling me that I need to turn around and I need to go help them. I had no idea what they wanted or needed, but it didn't matter. I was going to help them. No matter what it was, I was going to try and help them. And in that moment, I did. And they had told me that, they had been trying to get help from their family even, and their family wasn't able to help them or wasn't helping them. It wasn't very clear, but it was a reflection point for me, because there were times in the past previously that I have felt similar feelings from my intuition telling me something, and I've ignored it. And in those moments when we ignore our intuition, we don't know what we're missing. For me, it was an incredible conversation with two beautiful souls and their dog, talking to them about any number of things today, helping them with some peace of mind, helping them feel like they were more secure, like they were more safe, like they were in a safer situation because I was able to help them. I really struggled with whether or not I was actually going to tell the story for everybody, because I don't want it to seem like I'm self-serving or that I'm just telling this because I want everybody to see me being a good person. At the end of the day, this is a conversation about intuition. This is a conversation about following the nudges from your soul when it tells you to do something. And we get those feelings. Follow it. Trust it. It can start with something as simple as feeling the need to go outside during your lunch break instead of staying inside. Putting your feet in the ground, enjoying the beautiful weather around you. It can be very simple, and it starts simple. It starts very small. It starts with things like mindfulness, gratitude, appreciation for where you are. That's how it starts, and then it compounds. It compounds against itself every single time that you trust it, every single time that you follow what your intuition is telling you, until it starts snowballing into something greater. You have the power to change your life with just a thought and then an action. And so I challenge you all over the next few days, next week, however long, start trusting yourself more. Start trusting in your intuition more and see where it takes you. I guarantee you that it has the propensity to change your life. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I really hope that you enjoyed this topic. As a reminder, if you are listening on Anchor or Spotify, Please include voice notes with any questions, comments, thoughts, topic suggestions that you would want to hear in the next few episodes. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you're all having a wonderful, beautiful weekend. And with that, namaste. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I hope you enjoyed. You can find me on Instagram. My profile name is Montoya Lex. It's MontoyaLex. That's my Instagram profile. And you can also send me any comments, feedback, suggestions, questions, or topics that you would like me to cover at creatingconsciousnessllc@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have a wonderful rest of your day.